check day 5 was pretty much a bust. We didn't have anything in traps, so I kind of figured that would happen given where I was trapping and how many sets I had out. I didn't have a whole lot of sets out. I was just trying to do a little trapping, have a little fun while I'm off on vacation. So I thought I'd go ahead and put a video together about, I thought I'd title it Land Trapping, Where to Begin. I know I had a lot of questions when I started out doing this. I've been hunting for at least 35 years of my life, but I am definitely not an expert trapper. I've only been started trapping when I got into my early 40s. Very first thing you would need to do starting land trapping is research your local trapping regulations. And you'd get this information from your state DNR. In Arkansas, where I'm at, that's going to be the AGFC, the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. They put out a guidebook, and this is the one for 2024-2025 annually, that gives all the regulations and what type of licenses you have to have, and your trap size restrictions and all those things. The next thing you'll have to do is you'll have to learn how to make basic sets, like your dirt hole set. The best thing and best way to do that, I think, probably, I learn best by seeing others do things, and so watching videos on YouTube showing you how to do those things is a great way to learn how to set up, make those sets. Some experienced trappers you can watch on YouTube, some of the channels that give you good information. Hoosier Trapper Outdoors is a great resource. As a matter of fact, they do a lot of trapping in Arkansas, and so for our area, there's a lot of useful information if you're wanting to learn how to trap in our part of the country. Coon Creek Outdoors, which is Stu Miller, is also an excellent resource. Besides just the general trapping information, he also has a lot of information on skinning and fur handling that's very helpful. Trapper J, and that's just the letter J, he is also very good. I enjoy watching his videos, but you can learn a lot from him. North American Trapper, Alan Probst, is also a very good resource on YouTube. And another smaller channel, which I'm not for sure if he's making videos anymore, but it's called Trapping the Ozarks, and it's a smaller channel, and the gentleman that has that channel, he provides a lot of useful information. The next thing you have to do, you're going to have to get appropriate equipment for what you're trapping. This includes, your traps and your trap tags. So, like right here, we have a Duke 650. This is the largest trap you're able to use on land in Arkansas. Arkansas regulations state it can't be over the inside jaw spread measured at the dog, which is right here. Inside jaw spread can't be more than 6 1/4 inches. These Duke 650s are 6 1/8 inches. But other traps that are good, this is Duke 550. Duke 650 are 4-coil traps. They're great for trapping coyotes, bobcats, but you're going to catch foxes, coons, and possums, anything else you're going to catch in it. Duke 550s, these are 2-coil traps, and they've got a smaller jaw spread, but they will catch all those same things too. They're easier to bed because they're smaller. If you're specifically focusing on smaller animals like, say, coons and foxes or possums, you can also use, this is an MB 450. These are good traps too. I pretty much stick though mostly with the 650s and 550s. As a matter of fact, I prefer, I'm basically trapping everything from coyotes all the way down to skunks, possums and skunk size, and I prefer the 650s myself on everything. If all you're wanting to trap is coons, possums, and skunks, you can always go with a dog-proof trap. Dog-proof trap with cat food, dry cat food, is great to use. These work great. But once again, before you start buying traps, check your local laws and regulations to make sure that what you're buying is legal in your area. With your traps, you'll need trap tags. see if this one's got a tag on it. It does not for some reason, but we'll fix that. Matter of fact, while we're here watching this video, let's see. Now they make some trap tags that you can write on with a pencil. Those, I've used those. They do not work very well. They don't stay on very well. It's best to order trap tags that you have made for you, that you have printed out what you need to have on there. In Arkansas, there's different things you can have on there, like your name and address, your license plate number, or your customer ID number. And that's what I have printed on mine. I had printed on mine as my customer ID number. I like to put mine on these swivels right here underneath. They seem to stay on pretty well. And just bend it on and wrap it around like that. And they stay on pretty good. You're going to need set making equipment. I would highly recommend that when you start trapping, you don't have to have these, but it makes it a whole lot easier, especially if you're not experienced, is get you some trap setters. Basically, you just lock in over the ears of your traps to push down and set them. So, and you got two sizes here, two ends. So like this will fit on the 450s, and this bigger ones would fit on the ears of the 550s and the 650s. But I do highly recommend these, especially even if you're experienced. After you've set a bunch of traps in a day, your hands get tired, worn out, at least mine do, and you know, I'll pull those out and use them. It's just because it's just a lot easier. Other things you'll need a sifter. Now this is a cheapo. This is about 10 bucks, and honestly, that's all you need. You don't really need an expensive one. And you'll need some type of hammer and something to dig a dirt hole with, because that's your basic set, the dirt hole. I recommend these 3-in-1 tools. You got your hammer, you got your digging tool, and this also helps cut through roots for your digging to set your traps. And you've got this end which you can dig your dirt hole with. And I've dug a lot of dirt holes with that. Now I also use I'll use a battery powered drill with an auger on the end. This is a 2-inch auger. If I had to do it over again, I'd get a bigger auger. I'd get one that was 3 inches, but I mean, this 2-inch auger works. You're going to need some gloves. Probably best to have at least a couple pair. Honestly, probably the best thing to do is have a separate pair of gloves for set making and a separate pair of gloves for using bait and lures, so you don't get that smell on your traps. I don't do that all the time like you should. I just a lot of times get too lazy and use one set of gloves. I usually like for baiting and stuff. I like to use these natural covered gloves, and a lot of times with the set making and stuff, I'll use these leather gloves like this. You're going to need a way to anchor your trap, some way so the animal doesn't get away. I generally prefer using a drag. This is a heavy-duty MB drag. These are what I prefer to use, with about 10 feet of chain. You'll want to use at least the 2-aught double link chain, or at least the select number 2 machine chain, straight link machine chain on your drags. And like, you want at least 10 feet of it. At least that 10 feet of chain is enough that that animal is not going to be able to drag very far. It helps catch on you know, brush and small trees and everything. It helps you out greatly. So you want at least 10 feet of chain on your drags. Now you can also anchor your traps with something like this, and this is a short one because my area of the ground, it's hard and rocky and everything. If you get this much in the ground, you're doing good, and it's not going to pull out. But you can use an earth anchor. This is a wolf fang type earth anchor. Any kind of earth anchor you use, you're going to have to have something to drive it with, and this is, you know, a sort of special driver for your wolf fangs. It just fits on the end like that for you to drive it in the ground. And so, you know, and then you hook this to the end of your trap. You can also use other things like rebar stakes, you know, that have caps on the end. So there's different ways you can set them. Most of the time I use drags, but I do use, when I'm not using drags, I use earth anchors. Bedding material, I mean, you can use the in situ material that you dig out and everything to bed your traps in, to sift over your traps. I prefer, you know, some people use dry dirt and some people use wax dirt or wax sand. I prefer to use peat moss, and I always carry my peat moss in a bucket, and that's what I prefer to bed them in. You also need some kind of either trap pan cover or something to go under your trap pan that will prevent material from going in there, so your trap will function. So one cheap and easy type of cover that I like to have used in the past and like to use is wax paper. Wax paper is cheap, it works great. But I also I've gotten to where I use polyfill, and this is also cheap and it lasts a long time. You can get a big bag of this at Walmart. You know, this is basically pillow stuffing, and you stick it under the pan of your trap, and it works great for keeping the dirt out from under there and letting the trap function. You're going to need bait and lure. Now this was a big question to me when I got started, because there are so many different types of bait and lures out there, and it can get confusing. And there's certain times where you want to use certain types of lures and everything. So like, you know, like gland lures, when you're using them on a flat set to try to initiate a territorial reaction. So trying to keep it simple, at least in my area. I was going to show you some things that have worked great here in Arkansas. And it's from Hoosier Trapper Supply. Top Dog is their main bait. It's a bobcat based bait. It works great. I also use Top Dog Arctic, which has a lot of, it's got skunk essence in it. And this is, I don't start using this till you get in colder weather. The other thing with this is I wouldn't use this if you're anywhere where you're afraid you might be catching dogs or a little too close to an area that might have dogs. I do not use this there, because that skunk attractant, you'll catch a dog every time. Something new that they came out with, new bait, Mighty Dog. I've been using this year, and it's worked great as well. So you can stick with any of those three to start off with: Top Dog, Mighty Dog, and then Top Dog Arctic for colder weather. That's what I'd use for that. As far as lure is concerned, the stuff that's worked great for me, also from Hoosier Trapper Supply, my favorite has been Finicky Feline, and also I use a whole bunch of Vixen Elixir. These two are very good. I also I've got some jet fuel. I'm not going to dig that out. It's blue. Jet fuel from them works great. I've also had good luck with some stuff from Trapper J. Trapper J's Stanky Beaver Coyote Lure is great, and his Trapper J's All Predator Lure. I like to use those two together. And then the finish off your trap setup, I always like to use Bobcat earring, because as they say, you know, everything hates a bobcat. So you're going to need a way to carry all this equipment. Certainly you can use a bucket. You know, you can use a bucket. They make the carriers that go in the buckets, the cloth ones and everything. I personally don't care for those. I've used them in the past, and after a while, I think I just put too much junk in them, and they start weighting down, and they start sagging down and getting maybe under the bottom of the bucket, and they pull down even more, and it becomes a pain after a while. You can use a cheap backpack, like from Walmart, or a cheap one from Bass Pro. I've used that before. The only thing I would caution about that is I have had them before where you had if you're not careful, you've got a big jar of your bait in there, and somehow you throw it in the back of the truck and it pops open, and that makes a huge nasty mess. But that is another option, is to use a backpack to carry your stuff in. You can also, there's various pack baskets out there. The traditional type of woven pack baskets, and then there's the synthetic material pack baskets. I've never used those, but they look to be work very well. My preferred carrying source is a tool bag. I love these tool bags. I can fit all my bait and lures in them easy in these side pockets, and you know, they just work great for me carrying all my stuff. Now this one is a 15-inch bag. The one I've got here, it's just a cheap one I got from Atwoods, our local Atwoods, and you know, it works fine. If you were, I would recommend though getting one a little bit longer. 19 to 20 inches works better, but 15, if that's all you can find, that'll work good. You will need a dispatch weapon. I mean, the easiest thing to use for a dispatch weapon is what you've probably already got. You know, whatever 22 rifle you have on hand is plenty. You know, this is right here. This is just a basic Henry 22, and that's what I use most of the time. Sometimes I'll use a single action 22 pistol or 22 mag pistol. Really 22 mag isn't necessary for anything, but you know, if that's what you got, I mean, you can certainly use that. You know, if you have 17 HMR, you don't have 22, you have to have 17 HMR, that'll work as well. Something you'll need is something else you need is a catch pole. You know, this is not something you need all the time, but by gosh, when you need it, you need it. Especially if you're in an area, trapped in an area where there's certain game that you can't take legally, you will definitely need to have a catch pole. One thing I forgot to mention on one way to anchor traps, the way I like to anchor my dog proofs is with snare extension cables, and you can put those on the end of your dog proof trap, and all you have to do, it makes them super easy to install. You just pull this loop out bigger, dropping my trap, pull the loop out bigger, wrap it around the tree, stick that back through there, and boom, you got it on your tree. So you can also do that with your foothold traps. I don't like to do that very often because to me it makes it stick, the footholds stick out more like a sore thumb, but I have done that in areas before, and you can be successful with it. Not my first choice though, not my first choice and not my second choice for regular foothold traps. Now there are some other things you need. I'll try to for fur processing. I don't have those out here in front of me, but I will see if I can get a clip in of those. Skinning knives, I like to have two different types of skinning knives, a regular skinning knife, and then I have like what's called a little triangular first cut knife for skinning. To have a tail stripper. A tail stripper is important. You will pop tails easy. It's not that you have to have it to skin the tail, but it makes it so much easier, and you will pop tails on your furs easy if you don't have a tail stripper. And then having a tail splitter to actually strip that tail off there to split it open for drying, and then a brush. You need a gambrel to split, to make it easy to skin your game on. And what you've caught. Stretchers, either wood or wire stretchers. I've never used the wood stretchers. I use the wire Sleepy Creek stretchers. The number 4, 5, and 6s are the ones I use the most. But number 23s, sometimes you need those as well. A fleshing beam and a fleshing knife to flesh your hides for drying them, if you're going to dry them. Now I will say about that, you don't necessarily have to flesh and stretch your hides. I mean, you can sell them green, and so you can just put them in the freezer, roll them up or fold them up, and sack them up and put them in the freezer. With that, I'm gonna close out this video, unless I may put on a clip here of show you my fleshing beam and show you some knives that I use, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. And with that, we'll talk to you later. Okay, I wanted to do a quick segment here on skinning and fleshing tools. I need to clean this stuff up. I know it's kind of nasty, but anyway, these That's the fleshing knife I use. You get this, you get all this stuff from a lot of your trapping supply places, F&T, Fur Harvesters, Trading Post. A lot of this stuff I think I got from, actually got from Hoosier Trapper Supply. That's a good source for these knives and stuff. But this is the fleshing knife. This is the first cut knife, which I use for cutting down the hind legs and around the vent. Start getting around the tail. Brush for the fur to brush the fur out. This is a tail stripper. You need a tail stripper. I would recommend a metal one over the plastic ones. This is a tail splitter. Something else that's a good tool. This is the Sterling. I believe it's Sterling. Let me look. Yeah, it's Sterling knife sharpeners. These work great for sharpening your knives out here when you're out in the field, especially. I would definitely highly recommend these because you don't want to be doing this stuff with a dull knife, and sometimes your knife gets dull after you've gotten through a few animals, and you know, you can tell it when you use that knife sharpener. After you're done, you can tell great improvement in your skinning. Anyway, real quickly, see my mess of stuff here. Here's my fleshing beam set up. Back up where you can see it here. Just a stand I built for it and put it on. My stack of wire stretchers I haven't used, and my nasty fleshing knife I'll show you, which I need to clean. Yeah, I know it's bad, isn't it? Anyway, talk to y'all guys later.